And I remember I hear a lot from my friends that have kids, and man, you just hear it in movies too, like the whole generic saying, like, like it's the best day of my life, and everything changed when I saw my kids for the very first time. And for me, like that didn't happen, and I don't know why. I love my kids to death, but it didn't happen that day. All I could think about was I can't wait to get to my room because I have a bottle of vodka in a backpack, and I cannot wait till I can just stop feeling the way I feel right now because I feel sick. I feel in a lot of pain. And with alcohol like stealing from me, it stole that precious moment that I'll never get back.
Warning. This episode contains a real conversation about addiction, drug use, and suicide. It may be triggering. Take care of yourself. Listener discretion is advised.
This is the Sober Tapes. Raw stories of addiction, recovery, and the fight to live sober. Before we dive in, I just want to say, if you find value in these conversations, please like, subscribe, and share this podcast. I know it may seem small, but it helps us reach more people who need to hear that recovery is possible, no matter what life looks like right now. Because at the end of the day, there's only one goal of Sober Tapes, and that's to let people know that there is a solution and that you're not alone. Let's roll the tape. Please give us your name and your sobriety date if you feel comfortable doing so.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Darcy Brian, and my sober date is January 22nd, 2024.
Tell us about your family life. How were things growing up? And, kind of just tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. So, honestly, just to be honest and to get to the meats and potatoes, like I had a pretty rough childhood, and it's something that I honestly, I hated my childhood. There was something about me, I could not wait to grow up. When it would be like the last day of school, everyone would be cheering, like, yeah, it's summer vacation, and I held my head down low. I had an abusive dad that was physically and verbally abusive. And I had a mother that was cold-hearted and not nurturing. You know what? I growing up, I had three brothers. I'm a twin myself, and you know what? There's a lot of chaos with coming with that. Like, it was all male home. We were fighting all the time. There's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of picking on each other. I felt I had two older brothers that never really stood up to the plate and were role models for me of what a big brother should do. I've always lived in a place where I was always protecting myself, and I was always just trying to fit in, I guess. I was the youngest out of the four boys. So yeah, just growing up, man. I mean, I never really got, I always felt like the lowest on the totem pole. Like, I always got hand-me-downs. I got, second-handed things. Like, we were always celebrating my oldest brother's graduation. By the time I graduated, and my parents didn't even show up. I think at some point going through the process, I think they were done being parents, and I think I put them through a lot too. I think all of us have. Back in the 90s, it was a different lifestyle, man. Like, we didn't have cell phones. Like, it wasn't nurturing mom and dad taking care of you. I mean, mom and dad were working. I was home alone. We lived in a town complex. Like, all the kids got together. We formed gangs, and we were sneaking into empty units and making them like our little like clubhouses, and it was just a different time there, right? So I think I caused so much grief to my parents up to a certain point that they just literally they just put us on boot camp. Like, a lot of things, like I would do like a lot of forest fires. Like, I had cops coming and taking me home. We would go to Value Village, and my older brother would take us there, and we're like stealing candy and Swiss Army knives, and it was getting a little out of hand, I guess. As an adult looking in now, right? So, with that said, like, we were on boot camp. Like, I mean, our parents like stripped every pleasurable aspect of being a child at this point. So when it came to summer vacation, well, we had to go to my dad's lavatory and sit there for 8 hours while every normal child got to play and, like hang out with their friends, go swimming, enjoy summer the way summer should have been. So during these months, I constantly I thrived. I couldn't wait to go back to school. When I went to school, that was my freedom. I mean, I could, hang out with my buddies. I could, I had an 8 hour window where like I didn't have to be home. And I think when that happened, like, I mean, I didn't take school serious. Like, I think like it was now my stomping ground. It was like my time to like make up for lost times, right? So, I, I didn't take it serious. And I think at a certain point, I tried to always fit in, like, especially in high school. I'll be honest, I'm not a weed head. I hate weed. Like, it's like the worst for my body type. Like, I get like, well, with drinking, I think I got self-induced anxiety through the heavy drinking. And you put a joint on top of that, and it's fucking wild.
When did the drugs and alcohol kind of enter your life? Like, was it present in family life at all? Like growing up, did you see anyone drinking or drugs?
Yeah. So in our family, there wasn't drinking. My dad didn't drink, and my mom didn't drink either. So um, it wasn't around us. It never affected us. So I guess like it's kind of like a two-part question, because like the first time I had a drink, honestly, it was in grade 8. Like it was the last day of school, and a buddy brought 2 beers, and we went to the forest and we drank it. I don't consider that as my first drink. That was me just being a boy, peer pressure, taking a sip. I didn't enjoy any bit of that. My first real drink was when I was uh probably 20, 21, working in a restaurant, and I went to my first staff party. And we went downtown, and it was an open bar, and there was probably, I don't know, maybe 80 to 100 people there. And I like became like the best version of myself. Like, I was like the funniest person at that party. I made all the best jokes. I was like a little pimp. I was talking to all the girls there. Like, I just had this like swag to myself that I kind of liked this version of myself. And then, of course, at that age, you don't experience hangovers. So, the next day I'm ready to go, and so forth. So there was a lifestyle, uh, working in the restaurant. I think that I found my true love with alcohol. We used to get rewarded with it when we were at work. I was a busboy at the time. So whoever had, the cleanest sections, or, whoever kind of did the side work the fastest, we would get rewarded with a pint of beer after work. And, it was at a time where like, you can smoke in restaurants. So like, I really looked forward to the end of my shift so I could sit around the wood. I'm sitting with all the other servers, and we're just kind of enjoying each other's company. We're having a couple drinks and smoking at the bar. Sometimes the manager would go into the office to count, the tilts, and I'd lean over the bar and I'd fill up my pint of beer again, and then I get a nice little buzz and I'd stumble home.
So I guess at this point, early 20s, alcohol is a good thing for you. You're just learning about it. You're enjoying it. It comes with like a social part of it.
Yeah.
That's, accepting with the people that you work with. I worked in a restaurant too.
Yeah.
I get it. Like,
I loved it, man.
I was working at Moxie's. I was a busboy there, and then I started serving at Cali's, and then bartending, and then I started bartending at other bars all around the city. And I get it. Like, that lifestyle, drinking and drugging is rewarded in a big way.
It was, man.
And then you add some smokes on that, and it's part of like the social hierarchy of kind of like, where you sit and like kind of who you click with and stuff like that is who you party with and drink with. Because ultimately, like, at least for me in my experience, like, servers and bartenders and that restaurant crowd, they hang out with each other because they're the only ones on that schedule.
Well, that's the thing, right? So like, like our Fridays were Mondays and Tuesday, right? So we grinded out Friday and Saturday through the rush, even though we're still drinking after, because we would walk over to Jack Astor's and we would shut down that bar down until, 3 o'clock in the morning. We knew the service there. So, we didn't have to leave till 4 o'clock. On the summer seasons, we would stay on the patio, and then we would turn it into a poker game. And I'd be at that restaurant till 6 a.m. And then, somebody would bring out a bag, and, we kind of, we're all kind of having fun. We're all indulging in it. And it seemed innocent because, at that time, like, it's not affecting anything. It's not affecting my routine. It's not affecting my mindset. It's like I'm just, it's a version of myself that like I'm kind of having fun, and I'm kind of like, I was late in the game when it came to like the drug and alcohol. I had a strict parent, like I was on lockdown. I just got out of solitary confinement, right? So, I kind of like busted out like a bat out of hell out of it. So I was like kind of making up for lost time. And then on top of that, like, I mean, it was the people I associated myself around, and I had a lot of friends that would always have parties on Friday nights and Saturdays, and listen, I mean, these are the guys that after I closed a shift, and it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to their house after this, like so every Friday, Saturday was starting to look like it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm coming home, eventually. My parents do split, and I was happy about that moment. Like my dad left it, and it was the first time I was happy to see him leave. I had so much pent up resentment towards him for many years, and once that moment happened, like something shifted, because now my mom was like the one that's like holding down the fort, and you got you know my oldest moved out at that time, but you got three of us still living at the house. She couldn't control us, and she had to kind of pick up some slack and work, later shifts and later hours. So, around that time, like all hell broke loose, right? I mean, she couldn't control us, like, so nobody said no to me. Like I was just like, it was like, and her hours conflicted with mine because she's sleeping by the time I'm getting home, and by the time I'm waking up, she's already out the door. And that would go on for several years, right? And then what would shift was like my place used to be the spot, like the go-to spot, and like people would come over, we would have poker nights, and then it was just, it turned into a shit show. Like, other people inviting other people over. I didn't even know who they were. We were smoking in the basement. It was like a party room. It was like a frat house down there.
So when did this become a problem? Like when did drugs and alcohol turn from fun, social? Obviously, mom and dad are split up now.
Yeah.
You're at home with mom and your two brothers still.
Yeah.
Things are a little, chaotic at home. Obviously, there's some chaos going on in the home.
Yeah, like I mean, it was like a frat house, right? Like I mean, it was a house style. Just because, like I said, my mom was like never home, so like there was just constantly people coming in and going. When it became a problem, I mean, so at one point I leave the restaurant, and because the money wasn't good. Like I mean, I was struggling to pay bills. It was minimum wage. I think minimum wage at that time was $5-6 an hour. I forget, but so I get into construction. So I mean, like, you want to make some money back then. You'd be a laborer, and yeah, you got good paychecks, man. So at that time, I got into construction, and I think like it's kind of hard when you ask that question, because it's like with the mind I have now, like I know when that problem was, but if you were to ask me at that time, it wasn't a problem. But that's when it was a problem, because as I transitioned into construction, well, now we just had beers after work, right? And I made a little bit more money. So like I remember running a job site, and the contractors I was working for, I remember I was late. I the night before, I like whatever had a heavy night of drinking. I wake up in the morning, I'm so hungover, I'm late. I can't find my car keys, can't find my wallet. Like I'm delayed 20-30 minutes. I finally get to the job site, and the contractor's there, and he's walking around the job, and we're just kind of going over kind of our like scope of work or whatever. And I could just tell he's short with me, like he's irritated that I'm here late. And in my head, I thought the whole time, like, what's the big deal? Like whatever, I'm the 20 minutes late. Like it's not the end of the world. Like I mean, it's kind of like a lucrative business. Some meetings come up, whatever, right? So, and I remember he said to me, and he just stops in his track and he looks at me and he's like, "You need AA." And I kind of like, I didn't have a response to him. I was kind of like a deer in the headlights. Like I kind of didn't know what to say. And I think that was the first time I heard the word AA, like ever. I never knew of AA. And he starts to go on about how his wife had a problem with it. I have all the signs, and it could help me, blah, blah, blah. And he just goes on this rant about it. And I just remember feeling so much anger towards this guy. Like, I'm like, who the fuck are you? You know, like to tell me about my life, like what I need, what's best for me, you know? And I remember I hated that guy. I hated him. There was two partners. There was one I did like, and he was the one I never got along with. And I think he saw through my bullshit. I remember like going out, like, and like during the summer or whatever, we go to like a cottage for a party. And this is the first time I realized that like I separate myself with like the people I'm partying with, because you know, I remember going away to this cottage and it's Friday night and our time went off. We just got there. I mean, everyone's drinking 2 4 shots, even Coke's there. We're all partying hard. And the majority of us all are partying until about 4 o'clock in the morning. And everyone kind of tapers off and kind of like goes their separate ways. And I remember waking up in the morning and it's about 10 o'clock in the morning and there's people in the kitchen. I can hear them making breakfast. I can hear bacon sizzling. I can see people outside going into the lake for a swim. And, you know, they're just like doing like these normal things. And I'm sitting here like just holding my head with so much pain from this hangover I have. And I just remember that like I would close the blinds and I had an ensuite in my room. And I remember I would just like take a beer with me and I go in this like ensuite and I'm just fucking sitting on the edge of a tub and I'm just like chugging this beer down, like, but I'm hiding it at this point. Like, I'm not being like in front of everyone, you know, because I know it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Like, shouldn't be having a drink, right? But like, and I start chugging this thing, right? And I guess that to me it was like the equivalent of like what it's like for, you know, for a woman to put her makeup on. She's like, oh, let me put my makeup, let me put my face on before I'm ready to get out the door. That's how I kind of felt with alcohol, like having a drink. Like, let me have like 2 beers in, and then I'm ready to face people. Kind of like go on with my day, and then I'd go down. I have an appetite. You know, I'm hanging out. I'm back to that kind of funny guy I was, right? And
Did you ever think that was a problem, that you needed to drink to feel normal?
there was a bit of guilt with it, like, but but not enough to like. I think most people can live with a bit of guilt and shame and put it behind them, and I think that's where I was at that point. I mean, I wasn't looking at it through those lenses. I mean, I think I saw it as, you know, struggling with this problem at the moment, and you know, I wanted to continue on.
So when you started to realize like, hey, maybe this is a problem, to when things got really bad, like what kind of time frame was that? Like, okay, so you're at this cottage, you're drinking a beer on the side of the tub. From that point until when you're like, hey, I have a problem, what kind of time frame was that? Was that like a quick ramp up, or was it a slow bleed?
It was probably about another 10 to 15 years.
Okay, that's a long time. That's a slow bleed.
But yeah, it's a slow bleed. It was like I was in pain at 25, 26, and that's when that stuff kind of started happening. You know, and then, you know, I met my, you know, like my partner, my wife, you know, in 2014, and I think I was struggling really bad at that time.
Did you ever try to quit before?
Never. I never.
Is it because you didn't think you had a problem?
I always knew I had a problem. Like at the time when I got confronted by, you know, the contractor, you know, about me going to AA, you know, I was plain ignorant at that point. You know, we fast forward a few years, you know, I get into my late 20s. The drinking is excessive. Like, I mean, it's so excessive at nighttime. I become a daily drinker. You know, I'm not affecting anybody, but like the next mornings were just so unbearable. So I just created a pattern where I would just all of a sudden, like now, just constantly like I overstocked alcohol all the time with me, and because it was my fear. My fear in life was not having any booze, like not having any alcohol at my fingertips when needed. So I would always like I bought in bulk when I bought my booze. So, you know, I would easily get through a 12-pack. So I bought a 2-4.
So at this point, what does a day in the life of alcoholic Darcy look like?
As soon as I wake up.
Okay, and just play out the day.
The question should be like, what's the day in the life without the alcohol when I was drinking? And it would start off, if you ever seen a movie, any movie, army movie where you see like the tanker get bombed and the guy gets out of that tanker and all of a sudden it's like a high pitched sound that's just all you hear that, you hear people mouthing something, move this, blah, blah, blah. He's disoriented. It's dizzy. I could feel my heartbeat through my neck. I would be constantly feeling for a pulse, and I would be in a state of mind where I'm like, today's the day I die. And I'm going to have a stroke right here. Like, I'm absolutely going to be stroking out. Like, I'm petrified in my life. It took me a while through, like, at least a good 5 years where I was always like, well, I feel good when I'm drinking. And I don't feel this when I'm drinking, but I always feel this when I stop drinking. And, I've had a couple episodes that just absolutely scared the shit out of me where like, I thought this was it. Um, and I think I found a new lifestyle where I thought for a moment, I was like, I'm just going to drink. I'm going to drink every goddamn moment I can. I'm going to top up when I need to top up. And I didn't have a fear of getting caught, like drinking and driving. I had booze in every orifice of wherever I was. I had booze in the backseat of my car, like under my seats, in my bedroom, like in bathroom, like everywhere.
Did you have any consequences to your drinking?
Luckily, like I never got into any trouble with the law with it. But I did have some very close like health scares. Like I one time I woke up in the middle of the night after like a vicious, and listen, like for me, like the drinking was every day. People talk about, like a bender. Like a bender for me would be like how many sober days I would have. Like, cause like there was no breaks in between. Like I drank the way I drank Friday night, I drank Tuesday. Like I drank every single day that way. I drank 365 days in a row. Like for multiple years. For 10 years, I drank like that. There was never a day off. I don't even know how I had the money to drink like that. You know, when it got aggressively bad like that, like that's when my wife was like looking at me and you know, she didn't see the guy that she fell in love with, and she didn't see the guy that you know that I used to be when we first met, right? So, I think at that point, we had kids, and I don't know, I'm struggling the whole time. That's all I can say, man. Like alcohol is a thief, man. Alcohol is a thief that steals in the middle of the night, man, and it stole everything from me. I was so immersed in like what the hell was going on with just constantly hiding this drink, and nobody, like, I felt like the whole world knew I was a drunk. But like shockingly, I think some people didn't know, but I felt like everybody knew. And I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. I was like in this like mode where I felt like I was in like autopilot. Like I didn't have control of that part of my life. Like it was just honestly like wake up, drink, eat, drink, sleep, drink, go to work, drink, get to work, drink. And it was just constantly like medicating myself.
So what kind of lies were you telling yourself on a daily basis to keep living like that? Because you knew it obviously wasn't like normal.
It wasn't normal. It was scary. It was scary every single day. Every day was scary. Like it's scary to feel like this. It's not fun. It's not fun to feel like this at all, man. Like when you're waking up and you can't even think straight because you're woken up with like ill will, and like you're just like trying to numb it. Like because you just, all I want to do, man, is just act normal for a little bit today. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to party. I was done with the partying days, man. I just wanted to feel normal, man. And then I remember, Natalie gets pregnant, and I'm gonna have kids. And I remember saying to myself, like, this is it. This is what I needed. I'm gonna be an adult now. Like, besides all that bullshit, I thought this was it. And we get the news that she's having twins, which was super exciting. And I remember I hear a lot from my friends that have kids, and man, you just hear it in movies too, like the whole generic saying, like, like it's the best day of my life, and everything changed when I saw my kids for the very first time. And for me, like that didn't happen, and I don't know why. I love my kids to death, but it didn't happen that day. Like all I could think about was I can't wait to get to my room because I have a bottle of vodka in a backpack. And I cannot wait till I can just stop feeling the way I feel right now, because I feel sick. I feel in a lot of pain, and with alcohol like stealing from me, it stole that precious moment that I'll never get back. And I think I lived life like that for the next like 8 years.
So that wasn't even rock bottom. This is
No, it wasn't even rock bottom, man. So I remember my kids were born. I got, like I said, like I love the moment. Like I don't want to take away from that. Like I'm not an evil, like, I'm not a monster, but like I'm just giving that raw truth of like that alcoholic mind, because that's where my mind was. Like I look, I saw them, great, they're healthy, okay. Can I be excused and can I come back in 10 minutes? And I actually did that. I actually like one of the nurse saw me. She's like, "You look a little flushed. Are you okay, Dad? You okay, Dad?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think." She's like, "Go for a little walk." I knew exactly where my room was because it was two lefts around the corner, and there was my room there. And I ran there and I took 3 shots because I knew once I go back, I'm not gonna get another opportunity to get to this vodka. And I drank about like a quarter of it, and I kind of went back to the room. And I was like, okay, Daddy's here now. I'm that supportive husband now. And I had this like disease that like I had to basically I constantly fuel myself with this thing just so I can be half the person I want to be. And it was a tough place to be in. I every moment when there was a recital, like, I would try to find a way to sneak out to the car. I made any excuse, like, hey, I gotta go, I gotta go to the store to get smokes. I got 3 packs of smokes. When you're a smoker and an alcoholic, you're prepared, eh? But I'd say I have to go get smokes because I just wanted to drink 3 tall boys, while I'm sitting on the couch with my wife. And it's like, I'm now at this point, I'm hiding my drinking, and I don't want her to see how severe it is and how much I need to be drinking at all times.
how is this affecting your relationships at this point?
Oh, I mean, it took it out. I think at this point here now we come back, we have the twins. Uh, you know, I'm struggling. Like I'm struggling every single day. And at a point where, when you're throwing 2 kids at the same time, you know, like my house was like on fire all the time. It was chaotic. It was just screaming, and I was overstimulated. It was tough to manage, man. And that's when my life was unmanageable. I never once took time to think about my wife and how she's feeling through this whole mess. Like, it's her first kids too, right? Like I never thought of how's she feeling during this, right? I'm always just thinking about like how bad my drinking is, or how to get to my next drink, or how to numb myself, how to kind of get by. And I just like I said, man, I was in this like this zombie vegetable stage, like like it just survival mode, I guess, right? Anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on that. I just like we had we got separated for a year and a half, and during that time, my drinking just absolutely like had no limitations. Like I drank whenever the hell I wanted to. I started my own company because I wanted to drink whenever I wanted to. I worked for a contractor like as an employee, and he told me not to drink. The next day, I started my own company because I wanted to be able to drink when I wanted to, leave when I have to. Like once I got rid of those limitations, I think I started feeling better. Like when I wasn't like on the hook to like one of my fears was like going to work and you're stuck there for 8 hours and I can't drink. I can't get to my alcohol. Like that was a fear of mine. So I brought beer. I brought alcohol with me. I was a guy that brought a lunch pail to work, but I had to buy my lunch when I was at work because that lunch pail was only for ice cold beer in there, right? So the no limitations on my drinking once I was separated, and I mean, I think I hit rock bottom here. I was like living in my truck. I was living in hotels, and I had no one to reach out to, and my life's on fire, and I'm just like pouring gasoline on it, and I'm just drinking my life away. I'm not showing up for the kids. I'm not showing up for Natalie when she did need me. I was being very spiteful. I was being very hurtful, and and then it was such a terrible part of my life, man. And so one day, I feel like the only thing that was keeping me alive was my kids. Like my connection with my kids. It was like the only thing I thought I had going on in this world. And so I would have we were co-parenting, so I'd have them every other weekend. And I remember they would come over, and they're like crying when they're like coming to my house, like, And I'm like, yo, I haven't seen you guys in 2 weeks. I was working up north. I come back. I'm ready to see you guys. And, they're crying. And I'm talking to their mother. And, and she's been like, bless her soul, like, for putting up with all my shit. Cause she still had a heart where, like, she would stick around to kind of like ease them into staying with me because they didn't want to stay at my house. They'd cry the whole time. And I think at that point, it's like I hit rock bottom because I'm like, if I'm not like, because that hurts, man. Like, these are the guys that are keeping me alive and they don't even want to be with me. And I think at that part, that's when I started feeling my relationship with my father. And I remember this one day they come over, I like went over the top. I bought them toys. I had I went, had a whole bunch of gifts for them. I had this great weekend planned out, and they're just so unhappy being here. And I remember my son was being so defiant with me, and he just was, honestly, anything I was trying, he was just giving me such attitude, and he was just being so like nasty towards me. And I lost my shit, and I screamed at him. And I remember just as I'm screaming at him, I'm look over, I see a mirror, and I fucking see my dad and me. And I look over at him, and he's terrified and he's crying. And I finally saw myself in him, and I literally broke down crying. I didn't want to be this guy anymore. I just didn't want to be this guy, and I didn't know how to get help. I didn't know what to do because, like, as I'm crying, I'm drinking beers. You know what I mean? I'm drinking, and then I progressed to vodka and whatever it was. And I remember dropping them off, and I remember I had nowhere to go, and I dropped them off at their house, and my life seemed over. Like I'm like, okay, now I just wait till 2 weeks to pick them up again because my life's so meaningless. Like, when I'm not with them, and I'm sitting at a high school, like, I stopped to drink, and I'm drinking in there, and I'm crying so bad because I don't know what the fuck to do, man. I'm like, my life is just crumbling before me. I'm not trying to be a bad guy. I don't know what to do here. And all I know is I need help. I need somebody to make sense of this. Like, I need somebody to help me, like, manage through, like, maybe I need like therapy or talk to like a counselor or something. So I end up going on online, and I type in like a therapist, like life coach, and I end up like, just, there's a whole bunch that pop up, and I kind of skim through them, and I picked this one, and I call it, and this guy, this, like, honestly, like, this, like, sweet guy answers, and I'm like crying and sobbing. So he kind of understood the state of mind I was in. And so he answers, and I start telling him, like, just kind of like, like, I've been divorced. I start saying that, like, I don't get to see my kids don't want to see me, blah blah blah. So I'm telling him all these problems, but I'm not telling him one problem though. I'm not telling him about the drinking that I have. So, from that phone conversation, he's like, okay, he can help me. Like, so I finally, like, we started working together, and we meet once a week. I was going to his office. We sat there, and I was all about, like, the divorce stuff, the separation. Cause, like, listen, I mean, I don't want to, like, get into details with it, but there's a lot of stuff I thought that wasn't fair on my end, right? So, and that's where the kind of the focus was on that. And we worked together for about 4 months. I drank every single time I go to these meetings with him. Like, I thought I was smart. I would drink right up until I had to meet him. I would, I had Listerine bottles in my car. I would kind of like do the whole little process, walking to this meeting with him, chewing gum. I had, like, whatever. And then we would have our hour session. I'd go on my way. Finally, after 4 months of working together, he gives me an assessment. And his assessment says to me, he's like, listen, he's like, all the stuff you have going on are quite manageable. Like, he's like, I'm sorry you're going through that. But he's like, you got one problem here. He's like, and you're an alcoholic. And he's like, and you need AA. I'm like, I don't even know how I felt. I think I had an outer body experience when he was telling me that. Like, it was like, kind of like I got to the line where, like, I think this is where, like, I'm going to take that first step forward into recovery, or like, at least really saving myself right here.
So this is the second guy who's told you that you need AA.
Yeah.
But your reaction was very different
Very different at the time, because this time I'm suffering. I'm at my lowest at this point. I can't even keep up anymore with, like, I can't keep up with it anymore. And it's just, it was such a moment where he said to me, and he's like, I want to let you know that he's like, I got, at the time, he's like, I got 8 years of sobriety. He's like, I'm a recovering alcoholic. He's like, I'm a member at Prince Edward Group. He's like, I want to take you there. And I'm like, done. I'm willing to do it. And I remember
It's amazing what willingness
yeah,
to do at that.
it was, right? And that because I'm in that desperation. I'm sitting in there. I have nowhere to go. Like I'm just like I'm lost at this point, right? And I remember that I was going up north to like continue working, and I remember we're on the phone and we're working with each other, and I remember we'd have our like weekly calls like at a certain time, and I was still drinking. And like so like still with all the shit going on, I still like fucking I just can't like I'm like too scared to like quit. Like cause like alcohol's become such a superpower for me. Like I'm so scared to be caught without it. You know what I mean? It's my strength at this point. And I remember he finally takes me to my first meeting, and I'm like, dude, a malnourished like raccoon walking out of a dumpster. Like, just I feel so vulnerable. I walk in, and there's just a full house in here, and I never been so scared in my life. Like, I was just like, I don't think I was gonna make it. I thought that I'm just gonna try to get through this, and like, we're not gonna be successful with this at all. And then it took me to when I heard the first speaker. And all of a sudden the speaker said something about how he couldn't, when he finished work, he was racing home and he couldn't wait to get to the beer store. And that was the only thing that calmed his nerves. And then all of a sudden I was like listening, like, that's very relatable to me. And then he goes on how he's been sober and how now he rushes to get to an AA meeting because it calms his nerves. And I was like, no fucking way. There's no fucking way that does that for you. Like you need to be numbing yourself. Anyways, yeah, so I'm in AA and I go through this meeting and I get out of this meeting. I drive home and I'm so proud of myself because I went to an AA meeting and the first thing I did is I cracked a beer to celebrate that I went to an AA meeting. And
The delusion.
the delusion is just still with me, right? But I'm desperate though. Like I can't live like this. So and then I think like the second time, so it was the second day I went to another meeting and I was like, okay, we're gonna fucking do this. I'm gonna stay sober. And I got 24 hours sober. I went to my first meeting, still scared. And I think my third meeting I went to, now this is like I saw my first 24 hours. I'm going on to my first 48 hours of sobriety. And I think my third meeting I go to a men's meeting because I met some good guys in AA and I do a men's group, which is Drop the Rocks. And that's when I saw you. And when I saw you, it was like the most familiar face. And then I think at that moment, I was like, I felt home with with this process. Like this process is going to start working for me.
That was your third meeting?
That was my third meeting in AA. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. That was, man. So
I saw you fresh early.
I was like, I was like on the cusp, like of like, is this gonna work for me? Like, cause I just, it was just a mental obsession of that. I always had to have this like alcohol with me, and it was scary, man. Like, and my first month of sobriety was like I had to lock myself into my room for a month and I didn't leave. I remember I would go and I filled up my fridge with like water and juice and snacks and just stuff to kind of replenish. And I remember I had my laptop going with like playing The Office in the background, and on my other TV was Seinfeld, and I would get up and I'd walk and I'd chug water when I was feeling awful, like I'd thrown up. And I didn't know that you were supposed to detox. I never even knew what detox was. I'm pretty sure I needed that. And I didn't realize how unsafe I was after I got through it after several months. But I was in rough shape for a while there, and then it got better, man. It slowly did. I remember go to these meetings. I would sit there. I wanted to sit in the back and be a fly on the wall when I was at these meetings. But man, when I was there, I listened, and I remember sitting there and praying. And when we do we would do our prayer in the beginning. Like I'd always say, Matthew and Daniel, Daddy's coming home. And fuck, that one was a tough one, man. So, fuck. I remember that. That was tough. I was always just saying, Matthew, Day, I'm coming home. Like that, like I'm growing up. Um, and I just put the work in, man. And like, it was just a great environment. It was such a great environment. And it's where I needed to be. And everyone saw it around me. Like my wife saw it immediately. Like she knew she saw me so bad with my drinking that fuck it. Like my wife saw it from ground zero, man. Like she saw how bad my drinking was. So when she caught wind that like, I got a month sobriety, she knew like, bro, this guy's putting work in. Like this guy's like fuck.
Tell me a little bit about, some of the easiest parts of early sobriety.
To be honest, it wasn't that. I mean, it was easy because I was so desperate to like I had to change. Like I'm like if I didn't change, I was gonna be dead by 45. I think the fellowship, man. It was the fellowship, man. I was lucky. I was lucky that I met some great people in AA. I really did, and it was the first time I learned what brotherhood was. Coming from a guy that has 3 brothers, like I saw what brotherhood was. I was still in jams. I was still like trying to clean up my mess that I'm sober now, but I still got that mess behind me. And like just like the immediate response of people that helped me out. Um, I was alone all the time. For 2, 3 years, I was alone. I wasn't alone when I was in AA. Like there was always something. I was always somewhere. Shout outs to Kieran in his house because like that house helped me, man. Like when I had nowhere to go, and trust me, I didn't want to go back home because I was living at my mom's house and I was living in my old child bedroom where my dad was like, an asshole to me, and I was living in there, and I didn't want to be home. It was the last place I ever wanted to be.
What were some of the hardest parts about early sobriety then?
When I got help and I was able to like go through the big bucket, like man, there was so much to highlight. Like I think I could have highlighted every single letter, every single word in that book because it pertained to me. There was just so much that like I never thought of other people. I never did. I've been in a relationship with my wife for over 12 years, and honestly, I was a very selfish partner. I was. Having 2 boys, I was selfish. Yeah. Um, and what AA's was giving me was like a chance to reset and see my part in things. Once you get to see your part in things, like man, like I can't like everything opens up. Like I was just able to like, wow, like I can't believe you were feeling like that during these moments.
Was there a single moment or anything, that kind of clicked with you when you feel like, this is something that you wanted to pursue? Like obviously early sobriety, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like you're learning a lot of stuff about yourself. You've put down the drink finally. There's obviously still cravings and struggles and stuff like that with that. But then you got to still like do the work, right? And we talk about doing the work, and that's like going through the steps, getting a sponsor, getting a home group, doing all the things that require real work on your part. Was there something that you're like, that happened in sobriety? You're like, I got this. I'm going to do this. Like maybe the obsession hasn't been lifted at this point, but like, is there like a moment that kind of, I'm going to do this. This is what I want. Like,
yeah, like, I mean, when it came to the making the amends part, right? Like, so for me, like, I feel like I didn't harm anyone through my drinking. Like, I mean, how can I harm it? It's my body. I'm the one drinking it. But like, I didn't realize the people I hurt along the way. I have a nasty a toxic personality. Sometimes I'm very defensive. So I'm always in defense mode. So like when I feel an attack, I latch back with like with an attack, like on any part of something. So I didn't realize I did that a lot to people. And with that being said, I'd hurt people's feelings or, just say maybe it's not very nice things to people. So I didn't realize like, how much I did affect certain people through that. So going through the amends was like such a, like, I really feel like I got baptized at that moment. I really did. I feel like I had a clean slate. I'm thankful that I was able to repair and patch my relationship with my partner. And that's probably one of the greatest, amazing thing I got out of sobriety and with my kids too. Like I said, my kids used to cry when they had to hang out with me. even, well, actually, sorry, another thing that was hard in my sobriety, I'm now sober, and I still have my kids crying when they had to hang out with me. Because you know what? They're not the ones going through the program. I was. So going through that transition of being present for them and being there was like the most satisfying moments, man. I think my wife got to see the new and improved me with the sobriety. I think my kids saw it right away. A lot of hurt left me during that process. I think the best thing also too with my step work was connecting with God. And I think that was such a huge thing for me because I see God's work. I like there's a reason for the like there's these moments. I was lucky early on in my sobriety once I patched things up and was able to rebuild my relationships with my family. I was gifted my third boy, and when I found that out, I think it was the first time in my life that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to like be that father for him, be that partner for my wife, and be that dad for my two boys. And it was like just the most surreal moment I've ever lived in. They talk about a spiritual awakening, which I wouldn't even bat an eye to. I lived in a spiritual awakening for like 6 months. The birth of my son was the most surreal part of my life. I was like there. I was there to support my wife. I was there to welcome my son. I didn't have to leave to go grab a drink. I didn't even think about a drink that day. I all I wanted to do was make sure my wife was taken care of. I did leave for a moment. You know where I left? I went to Jersey Mike's to go get a special sub that my wife was talking about for 6 months because she couldn't have certain meats while she was pregnant, and I went and made sure she had that for when she got back to our room. So I mean, like just the total change in myself of who I was and what I represent was just absolutely a moment for me to cherish. So
If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would that be?
get out of your head, man. Stay out of your head. And look around and embrace what's around you. Embrace life and enjoy all these moments because life's too short, man.
Sure. What does living sober mean to you right now?
Living sober for me right now is control. Having control of my life. Not necessarily having control of an outcome, but just having control of my inner peace, I guess. Today, what sobriety looks like is, I think, how can I be helpful to, the next person if I can. Like on a day going to school, I'm playing board games with my son, like playing games with him while making breakfast, and I'm getting, the kids ready. I got a chance to enjoy some of my wife's maternity leave, and it's been just like such an amazing moment. I can't believe that like I enjoy just the weather when I'm walking to school. Like we stop driving to school, we walk, because time. I want to cherish time, and that's what sobriety's given me.
If sobriety was a soundtrack, what song would be on it?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. So my song would be "Redemption" by Nathaniel Ratcliffe. And you gotta check it out. It's a beautiful song, man. It's and I think that's the theme of my sobriety was redemption. So
Awesome. Thanks, man.
yeah, no problem, man.
Well, that's another story on the Sober Tapes. See, these aren't just interviews. They're reminders that recovery is possible, even when you're in the darkest of places. So until next time, let's keep the tape rolling, keep moving forward.